coming up in all angles: politics, the economy, and sports. The big stories of 2019. And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson Miller, and as always, thanks so much to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. So joining us to talk about the big stories of 2019, we have Jermaine Brown, my colleague from the RJR TVJ Sports Center, and we also have with us Kalila Reynolds, host of Nationwide's This Morning, also host of the YouTube show Taking Stock. With us as well, Clive Mullins, attorney at law and one of our hosts on RJR's Hotline, and Robin Jerry Small, the host of Straight Up on News Talk 93 FM. And in fact, I'm going to be asking Jerry Small to lead us off in our first segment. Big story of the year for you when we're talking about politics, crime, those governance issues. What's your big story?
One, or just one?
Let's start off with the first one, number one for you.
Well, it is not news, but it is the new time. The completion of life of Siaga was a milestone that by which you could measure many other things.
Okay.
And at the same time, the pit bull of Jamaican politics, or the latest and the most formidable pit bull of Jamaican politics, announced his recession on his terms. Warmington announced that he will go, and he's grooming somebody already, and you dare not try to put who you feel like putting down there.
Why you pick that one as one of the big ones?
No, I just twinning him with Siaga because a lot of people don't know that he stood up to Siaga from in the 80s as a very young man.
Remind us.
Well, Siaga was trying to dictate certain terms to him, and Warmington was just about 30. And he kind of stood to him. Okay, I'm going into the details now. But, from that time, they realized that he is of local and otherwise value. Matter of fact, I think he's cousin of Portia Simpson Miller. And he warned them more than once that if you fool around, he will. At the time, the majority was just one. He told him he will go over there.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Clive, for you?
Well, the situation in terms of entertainment, coffee, I think that she has really burst on the world stage. The clarity of her music, her presence, her humility, that for me in entertainment was really a shoo-in. In terms of the politics, unfortunately, the issue, as it touched on, concerned the Caribbean Maritime and also the Ministry of Education. Very serious. In terms of the economy, IMF. Bye-bye, tata. That was good.
Okay. Okay, you give us a whole overview of the whole program there. Kalila, we heard there Siaga, Warmington, CMU for you.
Well, in terms of politics,
Yes.
we can't miss the PNP leadership race. That was huge.
Peter 1 and Peter 2.
Peter 1 and Peter 2, and I twin that with the Anne-Marie Vaz, Damian Crawford race as well. They're in East Portland because, in my opinion, Damian Crawford's loss in East Portland triggered that challenge by Peter 2, Peter Bunting, to Dr. Peter Phillips. And so that was a huge, huge event on the political calendar this year.
How did you see that? Well, let me start with the East Portland. How did you see that playing out? I mean, for instance, we all saw Damian Crawford, those comments he made about Mrs. Vaz, and how controversial those proved to be. But what about that by-election you think attracted so much attention?
I think, first of all, it's a political neophyte in Anne-Marie Vaz. It's the first time she was running. Secondly, she's the wife of Darrell Vaz, who's a very well-known minister within the JLP. Third of all, it was a PNP stronghold. It has been. The PNP has held that seat for so many, many years. The murder of Dr. Linville Bloomfield leading up to that election, so all eyes were on it. Aspersions were being cast about what actually happened to Dr. Bloomfield and all of that. And the fact that the JLP was looking to increase its majority. All these things made it a very polarizing election. So, and Damian Crawford himself, he's always a polarizing figure. No matter where he goes, people want to see what Damian Crawford is going to do and hear what he's going to say. And so all of those things came together to make it And because, so that's what, like 4 now? So 5, Dr. Peter Phillips's reputation as a party leader and effectiveness as a party leader was on the line with that race too.
Yes, and of course, you're quite correct, because that was one of the things used to justify the challenge to his leadership,
Right.
that he had lost how many elections in a row and lost East Portland. Jermaine, bro, for you.
Well, the CMU scandal stood out. Royal Reid, who of course was looking to enter representational politics as well, and the CMU president Pinnock also getting involved in that or being caught up in that, and that case is still pending. So it's interesting to see what will happen for the rest of this year as it pertains if Royal Reid and Mr. Pinnock will be able to escape punishment. Many Jamaicans would believe that, based on what they've heard thus far, that they're guilty, and that's how it is in terms of public and making our own judgment. But it will be interesting to see what happens for the rest of this year, with that case being carried over into 2020.
Yeah,
but that really stood out for me.
Yeah, as you said, the criminal charges, of course, wait to see what the court decides. But Jerry Small, this idea of a cabinet minister, first of all, being fired by the Prime Minister and then going on to be charged, and CMU, which really was like one of the darlings of the education sector in terms of how well they've done over the years and how forward-thinking and progressive the leadership seemed to be, all came crashing down.
Yeah, well, you see, these superstructures, they don't just come crashing down just like that. So some erosion was going on there. There's a certain level of overconfidence. Remember that Royal Reid, he helped to build the performance of Andrew Holness as a young education minister. And from that time, he was looked upon as a great resource. And then now being seconded from Jamaica College and in a strong position, it is obvious that he have great political ambition, because his determination to get a seat. It's only 2 cabinet posts that require you having an elected seat. So he must aim at either the prime ministership, which came out in his resume, in his when they had a school magazine when he was leaving Monroe. They wrote there, "This is a future prime minister." He had to apologize to Holness at a birthday function. Please don't feel no way when you hear that part of the resume read. He between CMU and the Ministry of Education, there's a lot of money there that is not really closely monitored. And then now it is a great embarrassment on Monroe. Several times now Monroe, because he went to Monroe and also did Mr. Pinnock, Dr. Pinnock, Professor Pinnock, Kern Spencer, and...
You're knocking, you're mashing up some Monroe horns over this side.
I feel like weird because... I had taught at JC for a little bit through the instrumentality of Reid and others. So and he was brought, he was slated to be headmaster for Monroe, Yes. And an old boy of Monroe is also an old boy of JC. Poached him away and brought him to JC. But I'm only saying that, these things have some... There was one time a so-called Jamaica College Mafia used to control PNP politics. Then afterward, a Calabar, so-called, other people call it Mafia, Calabar Mafia. And after a while, you find various schools. Because all school connections, people help people. But it's kind of unfortunate. The thing now, one of the greatest things, because you told me not only to mention one thing, but RJR's application for the 1975 and 76 cabinet records was probably even more important, but not as significant.
Why you put that on you?
Because when you applied for it, it prompted Holness to put a deal to Phillips. Phillips is a safer candidate for the JLP, And once he had won over Bunting, Holness, approached him saying, they're requesting certain documents, but for your sake, I'm going to withhold it. He didn't even need Phillips' support, but he did that as a tactical move to, And then it was Thwaites, who was a supporter of Bunting, voluntarily resigned from the shadow cabinet, which all of them should have done from the time they entered a race against Phillips. But Thwaites was the only one who had that principle to do that. It was he sitting in Parliament, saw some whispering going on with Phillips and Holness behind Pernell Charles' chair, and realized something is up, and then listening to little murmurings, little routine reading when things not going on. And him heard the routine reading about moving this thing from 20 years to 70 years and say, no, something is up. It's straight as a whistleblower. Now.
Well, I know he's the first one out of the PNP gate on it, because we spoke to him on the very evening that it was tabled, when you couldn't get PNP to talk. Because initially the PNP people were saying they didn't have a position. We couldn't get an official statement out of them for a couple of days.
And then Holness insinuated that Phillips had gave his approval, and Phillips came out and said no. And then each one of them insinuated that the other one was lying. But Holness had more to lose. Phillips had just, surprising to some people, beat Peter Bunting's side. And the JLP was very comfortable because Bunting is a person who they would be more uncomfortable with. So they're comfortable with Phillips. And they are making, they're treating Phillips a little way, saying that we're not going to reveal 75 to 76 because it might be embarrassing to you guys. When he didn't need to do that. But what he wanted Phillips and PNP to be on board, that when the public react, both the PNP, like with this 2% GC thing, the public would have both of them been on the same side. But the public opinion is what got out the 70 years. It wasn't PNP that fought and got back the 70 years pushed back.
No, they were behind
civil
public
society.
opinion on that. Just before I got to break, Peter 1 and Peter 2, Clive, did the outcome surprise you?
No, it didn't, because I expected Peter 1 to win. But I think, though, that Peter 2 actually won and PNP lost. By that I mean, what happened?
Which one is Peter 2?
Mr. Bunting.
Peter 1, my viewers, and for those for the non-Jamaicans watching, Peter Phillips, the leader of the People's National Party, was challenged by one of his shadow cabinet members, Peter Bunting, who is Peter 2.
But two little brown birds sat around a wall. One named Peter.
So I think what happened seriously is that the PNP has suffered because of the fracture in the party. But clearly, Peter Bunting has not positioned himself as a de facto leader of the party. He's showing on the day, the fact that he lost by 76 votes, to me means that next time around, which will happen, that he is surely way ahead to become leader of the PNP.
And his positioning in terms of the crime measures, the state of emergency, he's made sure that he's positioned himself as a standout in Parliament and taking this stance on the state of emergency, that he's absolutely against them, even when his party has been voting for them.
All right, let me go to the break. When we come back, the economy, best performing stock market in the world, what's been happening with the dollar, I don't know, roller coaster business, with Suko.